This video is sponsored by Electronic Arts. Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am back with another speed build of one of the lots that I created officially for the Sims 4 Adventure Awaits expansion pack, which launches on October 2nd. I was lucky enough to be chosen to create 3 of the lots for this pack, and this one is going to be the Fearful Fish Lounge, which is like a lounge or a bar in the world, and I really love the style this one ends up being. The Sims team had a pretty clear vision of what they wanted this to look like, with the wood tones and a lot of the really fun, colorful decor that's inside, so I'm really excited for you to see it. But before we get to that, I did want to mention that this software is not final. This is very, very early software from months ago at this point, as I was building this as the items were becoming available in-game. So you might see some placeholder items, the world doesn't look quite complete yet, and you'll be seeing my name bouncing around the screen as well. Nevertheless, I do hope you enjoy this little peek behind the curtain, behind the scenes video of the process of creating a build for an official pack. And if you're thinking about picking up the Adventure Awaits expansion pack, it would mean the world to me if you would consider using my creator code Gryphi at checkout. It's a great way to support me as a creator, and it doesn't cost anything extra. You just enter it at checkout and I'll receive a small commission on your purchase price. So thank you for considering, and thanks to EA for sponsoring this portion of the video. So at this point I have created the basic structure of the building, which is basically just 2 rectangles combined, and have this overlapping roofing that I think looks really cool that extends past where the walls are and is supported by columns. You'll see this change a couple of times throughout the build. As I was working on it, there were lights that I wanted to include on the interior, and at first I only had a short wall version of them, and so they looked really silly when I did the roofing like this, because for it to be this dramatic of a roof, it needed to be on medium or tall wall height, and the lights looked really silly and I really wanted to include them. So you'll see me kind of go back and forth between how tall the building is and how I have the roof, but in the end it does end up being this dramatic roof, as I do get the lights in a longer version, which I am so happy about, because I really prefer the roof looking like this versus the version you'll see kind of in the middle of the video. Anyway, I am starting to work on some of the landscaping outside. I wanted to just have like little pockets of landscaping at this point, and I will be later on covering more of the lot in stone so there's not so much grass, because it feels a little bit out of place for this area. But that's just what I automatically did when I started building, and then I got the feedback that, oh wait, that doesn't make a lot of sense, and I agree. It just didn't occur to me while I was starting the build. But anyway, moving inside now and trying to figure out the floor plan, I wanted to have a small bathroom towards the back, and just placing down like placeholder items to get an idea of the layout and where I want things to be. And the bathroom actually ends up being a little bit bigger than this, with the door on the side, and right next to it is going to be where the bar is, which I don't have the actual one in the game yet. As you can see, I just placed down this like yellow and green box. So I will be building it with a different bar at first and then swapping it out once this one has been added to the game. And same thing for the bar back at first, and the stools and everything. Pretty much everything is missing at this point. I have a couple of items, so I am using like the wallpaper and the windows and all of that. But a lot of the sofas and seating that I wanted to use in here, I didn't have access to at this point. So I was just trying to see what size they were and place them down, and then I'm going to be swapping them out for base game items to actually decorate, because this is a little hard to look at and visualize. So that's kind of what I was thinking at first. Some of these things stay, some don't. Like, I don't end up having that table in the middle of the area where the sofas are. I end up actually having the sofas on a different wall and creating a little bit of a musical area where your Sims could perform. So there's going to be a microphone and guitar. And then outside, I also have some tables and chairs for your Sims to dine at. And I believe these change as well to be the new tables and chairs from the pack. I don't keep those as base game. Anyway, this is where we are going to start sort of laying out the bar area. I knew that there was a tall bar back item, so I had the idea to have something like that behind here. It actually ends up being 2 tiles wide, so I do have to rearrange this, but I was trying to visualize what behind the bar might look like. So I started with some cabinets and countertops and placed a TV back there, because I thought that that made a lot of sense for a bar or a lounge like this. I believe I keep a TV in the end, but it's not exactly placed like that. And then these are the curtains that we're going to have in this build. I changed the swatch so many different times because I was very indecisive about the color scheme I wanted to go for in here. It's like teal for a long time, and then it actually changes to more like a red and green color scheme. I don't feel like it looks Christmassy. I feel like it worked very nicely, but it is in fact red and green later on. But at this point, I am swapping out the counters for these other base game ones so I can use the matching bar to kind of visualize the space a little bit better. And I added a third stool as there are 3 that are required for this lot type. And I think we should be swapping out the tables and chairs now. Yes. So I ended up just going for a dark wood over here with a couple of chairs added. The colors of the tables in the end actually end up being so different than this, and I wasn't really sure what they were going to look like at first. So it was actually very exciting when I got to swap stuff out. I love the colors that this space ends up having. I think it is really fun. And the lights that I talked about earlier that are going to be added in here that I needed to have a specific height for, they're actually jellyfish lights, which is so cool. So we end up having like bright green jellyfish lights inside and outside. And it's just a very unique style that I was not super familiar with going into this because it's strongly based on specific areas in New Zealand. And I loved that. I love when I get to build things that are a little bit different than my own personal, like, lived life experience. And so I got to do some research on this and see a lot of the references that the Sims team had. And this was definitely the build of the 3 that was the hardest for me to achieve. I guess it's just a style I wasn't familiar with, and I don't have the most experience with community lots, especially like a bar or a lounge. So this one took a lot of work, and I'm so happy with how it came out. It's actually, I think, one of the ones I'm most proud of. I almost said the interior I'm most proud of, but one of my builds doesn't even have an interior. It's a playground. But I adore how this lounge came out, and I hope your Sims have fun visiting it. If they do and you take screenshots, please send them to me on Blue Sky. I would love to see them. Anyway, the inside layout is starting to come together a little bit more. You can see the 2 sets of tables in the front and where I end up actually having the sofas in the end. And I have a couple of the new rugs at this point. I have the really cool fishing one that is under the couches, and that's the only one I have in here right now. Well, I guess there's another swatch of it behind the bar, those 3 circles. I think that one's really cute. But rearranging everything behind the bar now to add some more decor. I really wanted it to feel busy in that area. I feel like I've seen a lot of bars and lounges and pubs and things that have just like an excessive amount of wall decor, and that was exactly what I was trying to go for in this build. One of the things I tried was a couple of the different pride collages, both the flag and the like portraits that are, or the photos on one wall that has a mirror and like a shelf with plants and stuff. And I didn't end up using either of them out here, but the one that's a bunch of different frames and stuff does end up in the bathroom, which is really cool. It's just as I was getting more access to items from the actual pack, there was things that clearly needed to be out by the bar. So I ended up swapping those out, but I was glad that I got to use one of the pride items in this build in the bathroom. I think that's really cute. Anyway, I'm just adding some more decor to the tables as placeholders and grabbing a little table to put between the sofas. This is actually one of the new tables from the pack, so that does end up staying there. I'm not sure if it stays that swatch though. And then you can see some placeholder artwork that I'm not even sure what it looks like at this point because it's just a yellow block. It ends up being really cute and it stays there. I just move it because it's actually like really low to the ground. It doesn't look like it when the yellow piece is there, but when I got feedback on this lot, they were like, this is like touching the ground. And it was. It's just I didn't know what it looked like when I submitted it because it was just a yellow box. Anyway, this is going to be the bathroom. I am going to be swapping out the cabinetry and countertops in both the bar area and in the bathroom for something more rustic. I actually end up using the sort of industrial counters from base game in here. I feel like they just match the style of the build a little bit better. And then continuing to add decor in this room, I have a variety of lights. There's also a small window in here to get a little bit of outdoor lighting. I have a mirror. I just wanted to really clutter it up. I even got a small plant in there as well. And then I remembered we had this menu object in the game, so I put that all over the place. It's on like all of the tables and the bar, and I grabbed some clutter to put back there as well, which some of it gets swapped out as I get more items. But this is essentially what I was thinking at first. And then here I am moving some more stuff around. I think this is right after a revision or perhaps right before one as I'm adding some more landscaping. And then I should be going through and realizing I want to cover most of the lot in some sort of like concrete or tiling of some sort. So I will be doing that here shortly, but I thought I would leave in a little bit of me struggling to place down plants without move objects because it was definitely a struggle in all of my builds trying to figure that out, and it's kind of funny to watch, so I kept some of that in. And it continues in the front of the build where I'm moving around more of these bushes. I was a little bit indecisive on which flowers I wanted to include. I mostly wanted it to be green, but I like the pops of color, and right now they're blue, and that's because I was leaning into like blue and teal and green on the inside. But that will be changing once I decide on the green and red color scheme in a little while. So outside, the accent colors will be red, and I end up having also like the green jellyfish lights, because there's ones that hang from the ceiling inside, but there's also some that come up from the ground. So I have some of those on the outside of the build, which is really fun. And that sign that I have in the corner of the lot that has like a milkshake and a burger on it, I'm going to be deleting that. It's a little bit too American, so it didn't make sense. And the yellow blocks that are on the front of the building are going to be the actual sign for this, which are just not in yet, and I only keep one of them. It was a little bit redundant to have one on both sides, but I think it's a really pretty sign, and I'm excited to show that one off as well. And right now I'm just deciding if I want to have a little rug outside leading you to the side yard or fenced-in area for dining, and then we're back inside to continue working on the bar back. Moving stuff around because I think at this point I might actually have the bar back, so I'm trying to decide what items I want to keep versus get rid of, and figure out the best way to lay it all out. It's really weird, like having an idea and having it mostly complete and then realizing you have to change a lot of it because you didn't have the items yet. Like I knew that from the beginning, but it's interesting to watch back, I feel. So I should be adding those in here soon. I think I have them at this point, or I might not. I think I was just swapping them out for these industrial countertops first, just because the other ones felt a little bit too fancy for the space. This was more in line with the style, and I might not have the bar back yet, or maybe I do. I don't. What I actually ended up doing is just adding a couple of the tall cabinet pieces to block off that space and imagine that that's where that would be. It's just such a different way of building, where you build it with what you have, knowing that it's going to change later and kind of having to imagine the size of everything, but not having the items yet. It's so different than any way I normally build. So I just think it's kind of interesting. Anyway, this is a new ottoman that came with the pack, and so I wanted to include that. I don't think it ends up staying inside, but I do end up having them out the front, which I think is just some cute seating. We also got these new oars that I think are beautiful. I love all of the colors on them, and I end up actually having those over near where the guitar and the microphone are a little bit later on. I just don't have them yet. But finally, we're to our second set of items right after I got a review, and this is where I add in the new sign. I think it is so pretty, and I'm going to be finally adding some more flooring outside so it's not just all dirt or grass, because it just look a little bit out of place. It's all dirt right now, but when I originally was doing it, it was all grass. So yeah, just laying all of that out and letting the tables delete themselves because I'm going to be changing them anyway. And I think it already looks so much better just by covering it that way. I do end up actually differentiating the tile or the flooring that is on the whole lot from the like little strip that will lead you into the building, just to make it feel like there's a designated entry. And then finally, this is the new bar back. I think it is so cute. I also considered adding the new tables, but they weren't in yet, but the new chairs were. And look at these. I love the color on them. So I'm trying to figure out which of the curtains would look best with the red. And I don't remember if I used these ones in the end because I changed my mind so many different times. We're going to find out together. And then this is that wall art piece that I put over there that I couldn't see before. I can now see, and I raised it up. And then we're just continuing to add some more chairs around. And here are those jellyfish lights. And I'm realizing, oh, they are so short. Oh no, that's not good. So I ended up making the building shorter to accommodate the light. And then I had to get rid of that overhang, and I was really sad about it. But later on, it will come back and everything is okay. But as you can see, the colors in here are really fun. I love all the patterns and the colors. I feel like there's just a lot of personality in this space. And I'm placing down some of the new rugs, which the swatches are so good on. I'm very happy with a lot of the pieces of furniture that came with this pack. I find that a good chunk of them I'm going to be able to use. Specific small items and rugs and things like that are going to be like staples in the future. Some of the things are very specific to like camp and I might not use that often, but a lot of them are just really good staples. Like the bunk beds and stuff, they're metal bunk beds, but I feel like that's also pretty realistic just for any kids' room. So I will likely use those in the future. The other beds that are all like wooden are beautiful. We have some cool artwork here. Here's a closer up view of the bar back and the jellyfish lights. There's also a new lamp, which I think is really cool, and this clock made out of darts. I love it. There's also this new shelf and a side table. There's just so many items to look at. It's a little overwhelming, but in a good way. And then I'm just playing around with these rugs. And the funny thing, and I need to mention this, is once I decorated this, one of my meetings with the Sims team, one of them said, "This is giving women love me, fish fear me vibes." And I said, "Oh my God, absolutely yes." And they hadn't named the lot yet. And I said, "Can you please incorporate that into the title of this bar or of this lounge?" And it's now called the Fearful Fish Lounge. So I don't think it was entirely me that got that to be made, but I'm going to take credit for it. At least I want to. It just made me really happy. And I think it fits the lot very well. This definitely feels like the Fearful Fish Lounge. Anyway, continuing the landscaping in the front, you can see it's way more structured now, and I am grabbing some of the red flowers and some other low-lying ones. I also had swapped out the tables for the outdoor eating or the chairs, I guess. I didn't swap the tables yet, but I do have those pretty red chairs that I had on the interior, and I'm just struggling with landscaping once again. It's just really hard to get everything to fit in without move objects and still feel full and like there's not gaps everywhere. So I was trying my best. I think it came out okay in the end. I just have to keep moving things around and we'll get there. It looks pretty cute, but it is going to take a while, especially because I also need to fix the flowers on the back of the build for that little section as well. And I keep changing my mind about which flowers I want to use. And I also wanted to make sure we had some palm trees back here. So that kind of cuts into our space for the other flowers. And I believe I extend this as well. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger now. So I'm removing everything around and trying to find the correct placement. I just get so sad every time that box turns red. It's just doesn't want to let me place things where I want to, but we get there. Like I said, it's just a very, very long process. And then here are the outdoor lights, the little jellyfish lights. I had them yellow at first, but I do change them to green, although the yellow is pretty striking. I just was trying to stick to the color scheme I already had, so I thought the green would be nice. So that will be changing in a little while. I just try a few different colors. I was also grabbing some outdoor lighting and a different rug to put outside now that I had access to more of the rugs, because I originally had a base game one. And I ended up actually picking the fish rug to put right outside the door. And that was before this conversation about fish fear me, I think. Or maybe it was after that. I think it might have been after that, because I decided, you know what, if I'm putting a rug outside, it needs to be the fish one, because that's the name of the place. And I swapped out what's behind the bar instead. And then I'm just changing some of the colors and adding some extra decor, finally adding in the bar stools because I finally have them. And I think they are just so pretty. They have the same pattern as the rest of the chairs in this space. I decided to match that. And then I'm using the matching sofas as well. These are just like little two-seaters. I love how like rustic they are. We also got a small plant, which of course I had to add in here. Anytime we get a new plant, I'm excited. And then these are the new tables that came with the pack as well. So just placing those down, and I believe I play around with the colors on them, but I think they stay red at the end. There's also this cute little trunk that has a bunch of items on it that I put behind the sofas, and then we are changing the tables in the outdoor eating section as well. And then finally, I realize I have the longer lights, so the roof can return to its longer state that I had earlier in the build, which just looks so much better. But because of that, I do have to move some plants around to accommodate the columns, unfortunately. So here we are in the back, moving the plants around for the, I don't know, 10th, 15th, 80th time. I just find it really funny to watch. You can let me know what you think. It made me giggle, so I had to include all of the landscaping struggles in all of my videos, and watching it back is just something. And the funny thing is I cut out part of the footage. Anyway, here we are placing down the longer jellyfish lamps. They look so pretty in this space. I like the lighting that they add, and I believe I go into live mode at some point to add some extra lighting. And then the last thing I'm doing is to go ahead and place some more decor up higher on the wall, since I have extended the wall height. So just grabbing some new pieces to put around both in here and out in the bathroom, or in the bathroom, not out in the bathroom. But that is pretty much it for this build. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. And thank you in advance if you decide to use my code Gryphi at checkout when purchasing Adventure Awaits. Please enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.